Hello, listeners. Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network, and I want to take just a quick moment to tell you about another show on our podcast network that I think you'll love. Mission Admissions cuts through the noise in college admissions and recruitment. Host Jeremy Tiers brings a fresh perspective, packing each episode with straight talk advice, tips, and strategies from a mix of pros inside and outside higher ed. One of the things I love most about the show is how Jeremy often brings voices from outside the industry to share perspectives and practices that can be applied to the work that marketers and enrollment professionals like you do every day. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Mission Admissions wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Maya, and welcome to another episode of the Hidden Gem podcast. In a landscape full of colleges and universities fighting for attention, imagine a bold purple cow amidst a field of brown cows, standing out, captivating, and memorable. This is the essence of that iconic Seth Godin book, and it perfectly encapsulates the journey we're exploring in this episode at County College of Morris under the leadership of Dr. Anthony Iacono and Melissa Albright. Dr. Iacono is the president of CCM, and he brings his rich experience and unwavering commitment to leading with impact. And joining him today is Melissa Albright. She's a dynamic marketing leader, and in her tenure as the first executive director of marketing and public relations at CCM, and now as the vice president of marketing, public relations, and enrollment management, she has spearheaded significant cultural shifts and strategic initiatives that have led to consecutive enrollment increases and national recognition. In this episode, together we'll dive into how a president's vision, coupled with the expertise of a seasoned marketing leader, can transform the college's brand, much like a purple cow in a field, impossible to ignore and compelling to follow. So join us as we discuss the strategy behind an educational standout. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Dimishkovich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Hello, Melissa and Dr. Iacono. Welcome to the Hidden Gem podcast.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi, Maya. We're glad to be here, and please call me Tony.
I want to also thank you for kind of agreeing to do this last minute because initially I wanted to speak with Melissa and talk about her story. But once I learned about your college more and about the transformation that took place over the last few years, I really felt like it would be great to have your perspective. And I want to give you credit for initiating this new transformation and bring Melissa on board because I know you have seen great results in terms of enrollment, student satisfaction, community engagement. So I really, in this episode, want to learn more about the strategies you were able to implement. But before we get there, I would love for you, Tony, to take us back a couple of years, maybe pre COVID times, before Melissa was at the college on your team. What was the moment, or maybe a trigger, where you said, okay, something needs to change, or I want to take a different approach to marketing and enrollment?
So pre-Melissa, so the Dark Ages. Yeah. So you know what really happened is we were making a lot of changes. I came to the school in 2016, and just we had a very clear vision of what needed to happen at the college. Had a really talented board of trustees and some really supportive people around me. And on a Friday afternoon, I mean, I identified when I got here the marketing was really bad. It was pretty sparse to say the least, and it wasn't particularly good. And we knew it wasn't effective at all. But we were so busy working on some other big parts of the college that we hadn't really even moved on. I got a phone call one day from the wife of one of my board members, who I love and is very blunt. And I'm tired. It's Friday afternoon, the end of the day, and she says, you have really terrible marketing." Just what every president wants to hear. I said, "I know." She said, "You need help." I said, "I know." And she said, "I could help you." And I was tired, and I hope it didn't sound as bad as I think it came out. But it basically came out with, "What do you know about marketing?" And she said, "I'm the former first female vice president of marketing for Johnson and Johnson, and I spun off with my own company, which has been wildly successful." To which I appropriately said, "We can't afford you." She said, "You definitely cannot afford me, so I'll do it for free for you." And that was really the start of it. And we sat down and had some really great conversations. And long story short, she wound up staying with us for several years, volunteering on helping redesign what we were doing. We worked together to craft a vision that we thought would be really, really fruitful. And then we brought in another company that did huge market surveys for us. And I don't know how many tens of thousands of people they surveyed in the region, not just in the towns that were designated to serve, the entire region. And then spent a lot of time talking to employees of the college, students of the college, and they helped us learn a lot that we didn't know. And without that, we could have come up with something really neat that probably would have been just as ineffective. They really taught us who our market is, and we really missed the mark. When they asked us, "Who do you think your market is?" we told them the answer they got back is, "That market left 20 years ago. Those people don't even live here anymore." And then they showed us who our market was, and then we were able to really begin building a tremendous program around that. We did realize, though, and the one thing that I was pretty adamant about is we needed a very, very strong executive to run this area of the college. It was malnourished, but we knew it could do a lot for us. And I talked to that team at the time. This is pre-Melissa. Is I don't want to hire somebody in higher ed. And I want to go a totally different route. I want somebody from the business world who really, really understands that marketing has to work. And so that was hard to go find people. And there was a little bit of pushback of, well, then they won't know higher ed and how could they be any good? And my take was, because if they were, we'd be calling them. We would have already known about it, but everybody's numbers are terrible. They had been going down across the nation since 2010 because of natural birth decline. And the Great Recession, I don't think anybody ever truly recovered from. So we really wanted to go to a much savvier model. And we wanted somebody who could help us design things that were fun, that were engaging, that people would want to look at. They wouldn't, click to the next social media post or jump off the website or turn the page in the newspaper, whatever it was. We wanted them to really enjoy it. And Melissa has brought unbelievable focus to it and great results. But our marketing is fun. People talk about that all the time. And for me, when I got here, I'd go into meetings in the community and people would say, nobody ever knows what's going on at the college, that's not a great way to start a meeting. And, since she's been on board, I walk into meetings, people say, "I saw that you guys are just doing amazing things." Or that marketing piece you're using now, or that post that was hysterical. I loved it. And then when I'm around the country, I'll get other presidents saying, "What are you guys doing? How can we do that? You're everywhere." That's brought us new partners and donors and students and tremendously improved relationship with the community. So many great things have come of it. It's been wonderful.
So you identified that marketing was an issue. You conducted the research to see that there might be a perception, like a brand perception issues, that you are not hitting the mark, you're not targeting the right audience, and you realized, okay, I need help. I need to bring someone in who is not from the higher ed industry, coming from a different private sector, to kind of help build this team and bring your vision to life. And that's where Melissa comes in. And she's coming from a private sector and she has a lot of experience. And I think it's very interesting, Melissa, to get your perspective because this is your first kind of higher ed marketing job. I know you were a teacher before, but this is marketing in higher ed, which is different than teaching. So I'm curious, what maybe surprised you when you came to CCM? Any surprises that might be, wow, this is a great opportunity, or maybe pleasant surprises that you've noticed?
Yeah, there were all kinds of surprises and little hidden gems all over the place. So some of the differences were, I would say, one of the glaring things is that brand defined in higher ed is very different than brand defined where I came from. And so that was one of the first challenges was beginning to identify that people believe brand is just marketing, logo, assets, not that it's the essence of who we are. So I think that was one of the challenges was starting in a place and being okay with where we are and that we're on a journey of learning what our brand is and who we are. And we're communicating that better and better as we go. So I think it was a step back and going, okay, here's a challenge. We don't even really know what brand is, but if I throw it at them, they're not going to be able to digest it. So it's been like kind of chipping away at it little by little and embracing the disconnect and then teaching people how to get there. So I think that was one of the things. I was told that, a lot of people are going to be upset because we're going for a new brand, a new look. I've been through rebranding at a company before, so I was kind of prepared for that. But the pandemic did us actually a favor. So, because we were in the middle of the pandemic, we really focused on our external marketing with the brand change, and we kind of waited and did the internal rebranding as people started coming back. So, we didn't have to worry about print materials and signage and all those other pieces because nobody was here. So, we were able to take our time. So, that was a really big gift for us. So, we spent time going through trainings and communication with all the different areas around the college. And I think that helped us. And when everyone saw that people were excited about this fresh look, that our students were super excited about it, then it slowly started to get that buy-in. And we're almost at the point now where the old brand has pretty much disappeared and our new brand has settled in and is pretty consistent. We have a few little stragglers, but we're getting there. So was part of the challenge was not being the brand police and really learning to collaborate with people. So kind of getting those brand ambassadors, we would talk to a few people and say, hey, if you see any of our old brand, let me know so I can help people out versus going, hey, we got to get rid of that brand and that's old stuff. And, we did a little bit of that, but we tried not to approach it that way.
The brand police.
Well, rebranding is a huge, huge undertaking, and it takes the whole college to embrace it and use it and live it and show to students who you are. So, as far as I understand, you came in, you helped rebrand the college, and then you also assumed additional responsibilities, right? So I would love to get Dr. Iacono, Tony, your perspective. So in addition to marketing and PR, you also assigned or asked Melissa to take over enrollment management, right? So that's a very different approach because not often marketing and enrollment are combined under one umbrella. We do work closely together with each other, but not often you see them as one department. So I'm curious to know what was your vision behind this integration? What was your thought process? And what are the results you were hoping to achieve? And did you actually achieve them with this integration?
Hey, listen, I want to go back for a second. You asked Melissa what was the surprise when she got here. There was
Yeah,
nobody here. It was a pandemic. I thought that's what she was going to say. So for 6 months, she didn't see
It's
anybody. She
true.
worked, and I'm here. When I was recruiting, I was saying, "Oh, you're going to love higher ed. It's fabulous. The students, all the activities, the concerts and theater. nothing for 6 months. Then people started coming back. There was no activities weren't allowed. New Jersey went into a mandated hard lockdown. So I would have thought she'd say the most difficult thing is, where are all the people you talked about? Yeah, she did such an incredible job in that role. And she not only did she have to really scale a plan that was there and make some modifications to it, and then really build on it substantially, and teach an entire college how to work through a rebranding. She had to build a team, and we didn't really have a marketing team. We had the webmaster on one side of campus and a graphic designer on another part of campus. So we had to collect all these people and put them together, and teach them how to be a team, how to really function. And Melissa's other skill is she is tremendous at people development and building teams. Had that not happened, I don't think any of this would have occurred at all. But what we saw was tremendous skill. We saw our numbers do a pretty snappy turnaround. Um, the entire time she's been here, several years, we have been in the black every single semester except the very first semester. Again, we had a super hard lockdown in New Jersey, and students weren't allowed to enroll. COVID was still pretty strong, but within one semester, she turned our numbers around really, really quickly, and the feedback about the college began to change. And she's modest. I'll say that there were some people on campus who had a real struggle with the colors are different and this is different or whatever, because it's very important to people. Others loved it from the get-go. And when the community started opening up and we would go to community events as a college and have our own tent and so forth, the community loved the new look. And we would have alumni come up to us and say, I love the new colors. I love the look. There was so much enthusiasm. That was exciting because, again, it was launched in the pandemic, but you didn't see people. Um, so what happened was she was so successful at it, so good at building teams. What we decided is we would again take a business approach, and as my board had said, have you ever considered doing what happens in business more? Why don't you put what they called sales and marketing together? And Melissa had that background, and she has a really healthy background in sales and marketing and bringing the two together. So I went and had a conversation with her and said, this is something I've been thinking about for quite a long time. The board has brought up, so clearly there's some like-minded people and thoughts going on here. I know you've got the background, and one of our senior vice presidents retired after more than 43 years at the college, who handled the enrollment area. And so I asked Melissa, would she be willing to do it? And it meant taking on a very large number of employees, teaching them to do things very, very differently, and in essence, building another team. So, talk about moving people's cheese constantly, right? So she took that assignment on and did some serious restructuring of these areas, and then really delved into training people how to do the job radically differently. And because now it's everything from registration or it's recruitment when we go out into the community to align to the marketing. It's the a whole application process, the registration process, all of the advising, and a lot more. All of these things had to be unified together. They had to wrap around each other and be able to move in a timely manner. One of the challenges we used to have is students would put in an application, and it could be a considerable period of time until they heard from us to know, well, are you accepted? And then it could take more time before you could register. And in a very small amount of time, she had this turned around so that at the very longest, it could be 24 hours. And it typically was nowhere near 24 hours. And in today's world, everybody wants things to move quickly. So there are a lot of system changes, a lot of org changes, a lot of technology upgrades where students could hop on a computer, apply, and be registered almost immediately, and then get with an advisor and so forth as well. There's a lot of customer service training of how we're going to interact with students and the public. And then the great thing is, because it was all under one roof now, we could move very, very quickly, where we could launch a marketing campaign. And if we weren't getting the results, she knew instantly. Well, now we have to have 3 more meetings with another VP and a team of administrators and staff, and they were all the same people. So they could look, and if a campaign wasn't working, they could modify it immediately and then see those results. And being able to react very quickly gave us a huge competitive edge. We're in a super competitive market. One of the things that the marketing survey showed us is there are 79 other post-secondary colleges, universities, vocational schools around us. So, as the research firm told us, you literally have more competition than McDonald's does in a fast food market. And that was true, but it gave us an edge. And the second thing we saw within a few months is our out of county enrollment started spiraling upward. Today, 23% of our enrollment is out of county. In other words, it's coming from other service areas. They have their own community colleges. So we quickly were found very, very attractive. We found people in other states were enrolling in our virtual program. So we realized fast the impact of marketing, and our recovery was, first of all, the damage from the pandemic in terms of enrollment was never as great as most other schools, but the recovery was much, much faster. And we've continued to do really, really well. So I would never not advise somebody to put these areas together. It just makes sense.
I do like that you take a business like approach to running your institution. I think that's really important that you understand that to be a successful business, which you are as a college, you need to have great operations, great marketing, great financial services. All of it take integrating all of those services makes your college be more successful. So I think it's very smart, and it sounds like you have a very smart business like board that advises you and helps you to maybe see where you might not be able
Right.
to see.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
just gained so much by doing it, and we want for our students, we want them to have a really affordable education with minimal to zero debt. But the big thing is we want them to realize a great outcome, and that might be transferring to a senior institution or going right into the workforce. And we're able to achieve this really, really nicely by that.
I would add too, Maya, that, a lot of people shy away from what's considered a business model in higher ed because they feel that that's going to become more transactional. So when we see our students as like customers or clients, then they start to shy away and think that we're trying to operate more like transactional products. And that does not have to be the case. And that's what we've been trying to, teach our teams, that don't see students as transactional. Yes, they are a number, but they're also taking very good care of them, building relationships with them, and they're worried about the experience of the students, which is where our brand comes in, right? That's the essence of who we are. So having a business model does not mean that you're having a transactional experience. You can actually create an amazing experience with students to where they feel that sense of belonging, that sense of place, they feel welcomed. And then that also drives the brand of the institution. So those things actually play well together. But other people, at times, they tend to have that focus that that's not how it works.
Yeah, if anything, it's the opposite, right? Businesses are very careful about keeping their customers, recruiting customers, being effective and efficient with their resources, and that's what we should be focused on because we are public institutions and we spend public money, and we should be able to show, hey, we do it the right way, and you know, and that's where even with smaller budgets. It becomes even more important to have great marketing, great sales, because you need to be efficient and effective to achieve results and serve your community. But I want to go back for a second to this integration piece. The integration of marketing and enrollment happened, and you took over. I'm curious what additional benefits to what Tony mentioned you saw, and what maybe immediate improvements you're able to make to see the impact of this approach.
Sure. So we took some time to step back and look at the funnel and the admissions funnel, which most people are familiar with. And we first analyzed and looked at where are students stalling, where in the funnel are they stopping and not moving forward, and then what's happening at that stage. So if students are ready to register, why aren't they? What's happening in that process that's keeping them? And so I share the story frequently with people that it's like, running a relay race, and you have a baton. And if you throw it across while they're all running, more than likely they're going to miss it, drop it, and then, you're going to lose the race. But if you hand that baton off and the other hand is on it, when you let go, the baton stays in place and the runners continue and can continue and move forward. And so that's what I asked our teams to do. Find out where you're throwing the baton and where you need to integrate more and have overlap so the handoff to the next department is smoother. So from our admissions team down to our advising group, there was a gap that was happening and it had to do with communication. So we shored that up and we put pieces in place to speak to the students, and we were speaking to the decision makers in their homes. So mailing a postcard and it landing in the home so the parents knew as well as the students that it's time for them to register and they haven't done something. And so
Mm-hmm.
that would be a call to action for both parties when they got that. So those were examples of what we did, as well as just looking at all the communications and all the processes. And when my team realized what we were doing, I was able to step back and let them actually execute and then bring me back what they were doing. And they got super energized by having that empowerment. And they have collaborated not only with each other, but the longer outcome, better outcome, is that they are now doing that with other departments around campus. So even though we were like a little cell of culture change, this culture change is growing and those cells are getting bigger. And so now we're seeing, financial aid is partnering with our teams with all the FAFSA changes. We're watching other areas like Bursar partner with us to make changes in how they communicate with students and utilizing new tools like texting. So it's been an entire process, but it really was about finding where the gaps were, shoring up the gaps, and then better communication. And now marketing and admissions talk to each other. They say, you guys are about to distribute an e-blast. What if we did this? Admissions will advise marketing now at times and say, but we know this about the students who are on the prospect list. Then the registrar comes in and says, hey, we have all these visiting students that were here last year. How about we include them on the list for the outreach this year? So now all the parties are talking together and collaborating in new ways. And I really think that that is why we've seen an increase in our applications and our funnel rates. Our yield rates have increased. I think it's been over 7% since we did this reorganization.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's higher ed is known for silos and people working in their small groups and not talking to each other. And it is so important to break those barriers and ensure the flow of communication and collaboration to enhance the whole experience for students and employees, right? It's a lot more fun working together and actually talking and striving towards the same goal. So I think that's a great benefit. And I do like that you mentioned how important it is to build strong teams. And I'm curious, Melissa, if you can share maybe some examples or initiatives that you've implemented to enhance the team morale and, foster this sense of pride and belonging and collaboration.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I learned in the private sector that I needed to translate over to higher ed was the team building culture. So, they really didn't refer to each other as a team, it was more that department mentality. And also, there was a lot of hierarchical type of structure that went on. So, the first thing I did was started out with one on ones, very intentional. Every week, every employee was getting a one-on-one. So they got a full hour, whether it was with me or their director. And we talked about what the challenges are. It wasn't just about coming in and doing the to-do list, but really talking about their professional development. What are their challenges? What are their growth opportunities? So we did this on a weekly basis. It built up some trust, helped them to understand where I was coming from. And then that spread. And so now the whole division is doing that. It isn't just marketing any longer, it's all the enrollment side as well. So that was one piece of it. As we started working toward teams and starting to grow the division, like that's the other piece that's a challenge, right? You had the small, intimate marketing team. Now you added these other departments. Now that cell again has gotten really big. How do you keep that team that you built? That was one of the discussions Tony and I had early on when we talked about merging them, was how do you keep the success of that small team and grow it versus possibly lose the momentum that that team had. So it was spending a lot of time. It was talking through things. A lot of collaboration was going on. We do retreats on a regular basis. So we do it by department, and then we bring the whole division together, and we're starting to implement professional development. when we come together as a full division, there's three things that I tell them to expect. Always, when I'm in front of them, I want to inspire them. Second, I want to provide them with the knowledge that they need. And third, I want them to walk away challenged. So every divisional meeting has those three goals, and we always strive to achieve that. And when I first started, I remember being a little shocked that when I expected my whole division to come, I quickly learned it's really not the whole division that shows up. It's only certain members of the division. So I had to put a stop to that and said, I want offices, even if we have to rotate admins, whatever it is, I want full offices there. And I want my entire division to hear these things so that everyone can grow. So that was one of the big changes as well. Everybody is vitally important, and everybody gets a voice, and everybody gets to learn. So that was another major change. Then the thing we're working on right now is allowing space for every member of every department to have ideas and have a space to share that. So everything from our admissions team saying, hey, we should put a sign out that says welcome whatever student. And so they started out with a little sign. They were going to just kind of pilot it, see how it went. And now they're talking big. They're going, we could get a TV screen that welcomes them, and it changes, and all the names of the students who are coming in that day, their first name could be on the screen, and welcome new Titans. So really exciting things have come out of those conversations. So I think part of it is letting every employee know their ideas are valued. We may not act on all of them, but some of the biggest ideas come from the smallest little idea, and then it grows and grows and grows and becomes a bigger idea. And then people just feel like they've had an integral part to the growth of the department. So I've watched that, and I think that my staff all knows now that if they do those things, they're getting praised, they're getting recognized. I'm not claiming the success of what they did. I give it back to the employees as well.
That's very inspirational and a lot of great takeaways that we can all implement in our own organizations. I'm curious, are there any strategies that you have implemented in addition to what we already talked about that you saw great results from?
One of the strategies that was actually a lot of fun to do was creating a marketing toolkit. So, again, it was during the pandemic that we were rebranding and needing to train people on the new assets. So, because we were on Zoom, we ended up going around creating a toolkit that had all of our logos, all of our assets, PowerPoint presentation templates, all the things they needed. And if they were willing to come on a Zoom for 30 minutes as a department, we would train them. So our graphic designer would go on, I would go on. We had a PowerPoint presentation, and then we went through and showed them how to use it. They had homework. They had to come back for a few minutes a week later and share with us what they developed. And then we would give them ideas and pointers of how to do it better if they needed help. So our ideas were, again, not to be brand police, but to coach creativity. So we went into all those meetings telling people we wanted to coach their creativity, because some people really are talented. It doesn't require just the marketing team to do these things. So how do we empower them? How do we get them to buy in? That was one way. And I think that worked really, really well. And now the hard part and the challenging part is we're back to normal. Everybody's rolling. How do you keep that in front of them? As new people come on, some people leave. You know, it's widespread across campus. We do not want the Wild West coming back where everybody's doing their own thing. So it's continuing to train people so that they can do their best work. And when they realize that maybe I should not be designing something, they know who to come to. And I think we've built that trust with them, that it's not a bust on anybody's talent. It's just that may not be your thing to do.
It wasn't the thing for a lot. It was the what people were just doing their own one-offs. And there were times I'm looking going, okay, I'm a guy, but even I know those colors don't even match on that poster. This is horrifying. And yeah, we were very unified. You know, there's something else that Melissa's really been able to do. We have one of the things when I got here, we had almost no data, and we've created robust data dashboards and so forth. But our meetings sound so much different today, and the merging of those two areas makes it possible. This area and our instructional area converse very fluently these days. So Melissa's able to say, okay, we launched this marketing campaign. Here's how the campaign's doing by the numbers. Here's how we measure against national averages. But we're also able to say in that context, here's what's filling up in our classes, and here's where we're going to put a little more oomph behind a campaign. Or this schedule is not quite working, we need immediately to open 3 more sections of this or that. That used to take weeks before of conversations. It takes literally a few minutes now. So the instructional administrators now have a really good, quick, easy conversation with marketing and enrollment management about what's working, what's not. And this is important, right? From a consumer standpoint, we talk about I think a lot of people in higher ed would grimace at the use of the words, but we'll say, how much product do we have right now? Meaning, do we have enough math courses to offer right now? Do we have enough biology classes to offer right now? Because we're in a very competitive world, right? Every school is online. So if students look and they need Algebra 2 and it's not available when they want it, because that's how the world works, then it's not a problem. They'll just choose the college that's 10 minutes down the road, or they'll turn their computer on. We can't afford for that to happen. It's just like if you walk into a grocery store and what you want isn't on the shelf, you'll go across the street to the other grocery store, and the danger spot is you just might stay there. So we watch constantly, and we're able to deploy new classes strategically where we need them, when we need them, before we absolutely rock bottom need them as well. And that is helping us on a lot of fronts. But not just on the, hey, we've got great enrollment front, but students are staying on course. Our graduation rates have ticked up, up, up. We now have the highest graduation of any of New Jersey's community colleges. And having that data awareness and having that merger between the enrollment management and the marketing side, and being able to work quickly with the vice president of instruction, we move rapidly these days and make sure that what we need to happen is happening, and our students are benefiting from it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And for our listeners, if you are curious to learn more about branding in higher education, the episode before this one was actually with Nancy from Noetic Consultants, and she talked a lot about what is branding, why is it important, how it should be integrated the throughout the whole institution. It's like a fabric of your institution. That's kind of the term she used to explain branding. So listen to that one if you have missed it. And I'm glad you kind of helped illustrate how you can create a new brand and actually distribute it, amplify it in the community. To get your community energized and excited and noticed, which is
Mhm.
really important.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. It's been a really fun journey, and we couldn't have done it without his support. He believes in marketing and was on the front end of that and said, even during the pandemic when things were getting tight, he was like, let's keep the marketing going. Do not slow it down. So I give Tony credit for keeping us moving forward and allowing us to do this work, because it takes that support to be able to do it. When I bring ads to him that have a dog with a graduation hat on it, and he goes, "Oh, I'm not sure about that," and it ended up winning
Yeah, yeah.
awards,
But
and it was one of our longest
but
performing
but
ads.
I do tell them, don't worry about what I like. I like what works. So do whatever you think is best and go with that. So I'm not the expert. And if you're going to hire smart people, get out of their way.
That's a very smart advice. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. It's very inspirational. And it does show how important the partnership between the president and the marketing and working in tandem to move the college forward. So I really appreciate, and I'm sure our listeners will enjoy listening to this podcast and will find it useful.
Thanks, Maya. We
Thank you
enjoyed
so
it.
much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's a wrap of today's episode. I want to leave you with some key takeaways of today's discussion. First, I hope you keep in mind how important it is to rebrand with purpose, and how by breaking down silos, you can foster efficiency and collaboration. And of course, keep in mind that data plays a critical role in shaping responsive educational strategies. In this episode, we also learned how a business like approach, when thoughtfully applied to higher education, can amplify efficiency, engagement, and success both internally and in the broader community. Tony's and Melissa's stories remind us that education is more than just a system, it's a community thriving on innovation, inclusivity, and the collective effort of dedicated individuals. I hope you keep these takeaways in mind and let's continue amplifying the success of community colleges together, one conversation at a time. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Dimishkovich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you'd like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you're not just listening to a podcast, you are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.